We going live in 3, 2, 1. There you go.
There you go. You just did it. We are now. We just went live after 3, 2, 1. And hey there, everyone. CPO here, and this is Heli Hangout number 25. So thanks everyone for joining, hanging out, and watching. And I don't know. I don't have anything specific. Just random topics as usual. And I'm sure all of the typical cast of characters will start piling in here pretty soon, and give us lots of things to talk about. So in the meantime, we'll just start. I always start one side or the other. So Adrian, I'll start with you. You're on one end. How's it going? What you been up to?
Crashing.
Oh. It's not the right answer, dude.
Bloody, I hate electrics. I've had charger issues. I've had EC5 connectors failing, and I've had twice. So that's called 2 crashes. And yeah, it's just generally. And the trouble with this new motor is that it's too much fun, and it just begs to be beaten on. So I end up doing backwards inverted hurricanes at 5 foot off the deck at full collective, pulling 100 amps, and wonder why my batteries are getting a bit warm.
And you, see, I'm trying to remember. I saw your post. You had an ESC solder come loose.
Yeah, that was a bit rubbish. And some people were saying, oh, the solder joint was dry and everything else. But if you look at the picture that I posted,
it's fully encapsulated.
Yeah, it's come unsoldered. The solder joint between the solder and the connector has failed, rather than the solder joint between the solder and the wire. So that says to me, and also the plastic around the connector has melted as well. So it was definitely the connector heating up, not the cable or the solder. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think the connector heated up, and then that melted the solder, rather than it being the solder joint itself getting hot.
What connector are you using?
EC5.
Okay. Oh, I got a whole handful of those. I'm getting ready to put on some stuff. So
the male versions, what style are they? The ones that fit inside? You pull the innards out.
So there's the bullets.
So it's like a banana spring.
Yeah. The male is like a springy banana.
Yeah. Yeah. So the males I was running were like that.
They fell in. I lost them in my beard. Hold on. All right.
Along with a couple of M3 screws and a couple of washes.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. See, the ones I've got here, or the one that failed, was a different sort of variety. It was actually it's like if you took a tube and cut it down the length of it slightly, and then fanned it out. That's what these are like. They're different, and I think I had and of course there'll be a different sort of brand to the others that I was running, and I think they were a little bit loose, and I think that was the problem. I think they weren't quite making full contact, so then the resistance was a little bit higher. So then when you start sticking 100 amps across it, they get a bit warm.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, because the EC5 should handle what, 120 generally.
I think it's more than that. I think they're.
But I was a little bit concerned because when I was looking at the to buy in mine, I know that there's the E-Flight brand, the original EC5s, and then Hobby King sells them, and I'll be quite honest, I bought mine from Hobby King because they were much cheaper to buy a handful of them. But it's my understanding that they're all made just a little bit differently depending on who makes them. So I don't know which the better one is. If it's the E-Flight is the right ones, the better ones, or not. But
No, I don't know either, and we need to start getting some. This sport lacks standards. That's the trouble. There's no standard stuff anymore.
Yeah, the problem is the only way we're going to get standards is if somebody creates laws requiring standards, and I don't know if that's a smart thing either.
No, no. I mean, and not so much laws, just more just guidelines of the way things should be done, and then the reputable companies will do it. And yes, okay, you'll pay a little bit more for them, but it's hopefully they should that reputation should sort of convince people to buy it, unless they start thinking too much with their pockets. But I don't know.
Yeah, but that's how people think, right? That's why the aligned clones do so well, or knockoff, whatever. Pick your knockoff where you can buy it for a quarter of the price. I mean, people know if they spend more money, they're going to get a better product with better customer support and better, potential quality. But we still, when we add up the dollars and cents, we take risks. And I'm one of those people that does that all the time. I take calculated risks. I try and determine where my odds are. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be tough as long as there's people out there willing to clone and sell for a fraction of the cost. People will buy them.
Yeah, it's a tough one, and I don't so much struggle with it because as much as maybe what some people do, because I'm lucky enough to still know people in the industry, so I can like phone up my mate and go, yeah, can I just have like give us it for trade, or what it cost you or whatever. And they're like, yeah, whatever. And which is very, very useful and makes the sport affordable, especially when I've put it in 3 times in the last 6 weeks. It makes it a lot easier. But I can see that that those sort of choices could be quite difficult to make.
Indeed.
So yeah, it's been a bit of a crappy few weeks for me in terms of flying. I haven't done an awful lot of it, and when I have gone out, I've just sort of hung out and nattered and helped people set up brains, which I want to talk to you about actually at some point later on.
Okay.
But we'll come to that later.
Yeah, let's go down the line and let's hit up CodePox and see how he's doing. What's up, buddy?
Not much. So just new to the hobby and learning helicopter. Got my first collective pitch helicopter this week. The
Nice.
CPX. So starting small and learning.
How you making out with it so far?
I can hover or tail in, and I try to stay within like 4 to 6 foot boxes, and I'm trying to make it smaller. It's a very twitchy little helicopter, so
Yes, it is.
takes some very sensitive, very little movement to do.
So you can tone that down, with your rates and your expo. I don't know if you've looked into that a lot yet, but it might not be a bad idea to look at trying to tone down your stick response.
Yeah, so I've done that. So my dual rates are around like 30%,
Oh, okay. Well,
and I have I have 0 expo at that dual rate, because it's if I start putting exponential with such little movement, it becomes very, very not connected.
oh, okay. That's interesting because I fly about 30% expo on everything, no matter what it is. I put 30 in. Unless it's the tail, I leave the tail off.
Okay. Even if you have very little, like if you have like only 30% of dual rate, you still put some expo?
Well, yeah. So there's a difference, right? Probably the lowest I've ever gone on dual rates is about 70. So it may make a difference if you go that low. So I could see your point there.
Yeah. So I was feeling that putting expo with such a low number was very, like, you have to move like a lot. You have to go to like 2/3 or very to the extreme to start having a response. And then what it does more is it just add a delay, basically, of what you try to do, because it just takes more time to go where you need to do this.
Yeah,
I
I don't think delay is going to help you much.
No. No, and so I do a little bit of simulator too, and so just learning. It's going to be a long process, I know. It's going
It
to take
is.
months.
That's the fun part. If everybody could just pick up a heli and fly it, they'd be boring. So enjoy the process.
Yeah.
All right. Dave, what's up?
Hey guys. Not a whole lot. I couldn't leave well enough alone, so I started to dig into my tricopter a little bit more and ESCs.
Oh yeah.
And tried to update the firmware on the new Afros that I received. 2 of the ESCs would update, 1 wouldn't. And from what I read, if a ESC won't take the new firmware, odds are it's a bad ESC. But I also read there's a rare chance that they didn't unlock the bootloader. So to unlock the bootloader is a little more complicated because you have to actually solder wires directly to the board, to the controller that's actually on the board. So it was difficult, but I actually somehow managed to actually solder some wires to that thing, and sure enough, I got the new firmware with the unlocked bootloader to load, and then after that, I was able to update the firmware through the USB linker, and it's actually been flying good so far, but in all honesty, I just don't trust it. I'm finding that I'm just waiting for it to come out of the sky again. So
How many flights do you have on it crash free now?
couple dozen, but I've gotten close to that before it just falls out of the sky. One of the things I did, I changed the there's the for changing your rates, there's or not the rates, but the your P&I gains, and there's the P&I limit as well as the gains. And even though the manual tells you not to mess with the limits, I was just curious what they would do. I had read about it in the book, so I thought, well, if I make a really small change, hopefully I'll probably see something odd behavior and I'll be able to put it back down on the ground before it gets out of control. So I upped the I limit, put it up in the air, couldn't really see any issues, just a basic hover, dart here, around here and there, nothing. So then it all looked good, so I put it in a fast forward flight, and within probably 10-15 seconds of a fast forward flight, it just did a front flip and hit the ground inverted. Yeah, and then so I'm not sure exactly why. I posted out on RC groups into the KK2 forum, and I didn't get a whole lot of response other than someone said that was a problem in the original firmware, but they thought that Steve IS's firmware had fixed that. So I don't know, but based on my experience, and it tells you that for some reason in the book it says don't change these, but if they're there and you can change them,
don't let that stop you.
Right. So that's one that I probably won't change. I set it back to the default, and I haven't had any more problems with it. But I'm probably just going to still swap out those Afro ESCs because I don't feel comfortable with them.
Yeah, that stinks. I haven't had, mine had some problems before, and I think it was because I'm pretty sure they were overheating, and then I ended up having a cold solder on one of my motor wires that I tracked down. But after I got all those things resolved, I have I don't know how many flights on it without a single hiccup. So I still trust my ESCs, but I definitely know how you feel, because for a while in the back of my mind, I was like, I'm not hanging a camera off this. I don't want to do anything with it because I'm just going to end up crashing it. And I was really scared, actually, not so much flying around, my yard, but when I was flying FPV and I was going up above the tree line and then flying away from me to where if I lost power to it, I wouldn't be able to recover it. It'd be somewhere else, right? I'd have to figure out how to get to it, and that's what made me nervous, I guess, more than anything, is it was going to go down someplace I couldn't get to it. So I definitely sense your frustration there. But so, what kind of ESCs are you thinking about? Are you thinking about like some Turnigy Blue or whatever they are?
That's what I've been reading is or the Hobby King Blue series.
Yeah,
they were kind of like the go-to ESCs before we started having these multi-rotor specific ESCs, and we're starting to see more. I noticed KDE came out now with multi-rotor specific ESCs, but a lot of this stuff is really expensive. I think they want it's like $75 a pop for them.
Ouch.
For 30 amp ESCs. That gets pricey, especially if you're going to do something like a hex. And I think that dovetails into what you guys were just talking about in regards to, cost versus risk, analysis. There, some people don't want to mess with that. They won't mess with a Hobby King anything. They'll pop for the $70 ESCs regardless. And then there are people like, I guess, you and me who want to see, want to learn from the experience. I noticed that. I was going to say, I noticed that because you guys were talking connectors too. I ordered, originally I ordered 3.5 millimeter bullets from Hobby King for this thing. And when I got them, they seemed okay, not the best. I've had Castles before, seem much better fit, and I just ordered some from Amy, and I think they're ProTech 3.5 millimeter bullets. Again, they fit much tighter, much I think better connectivity all the way through the bullet. It just feels like a much better connection. So, but you pay 3 or 4 times more for them. So.
Right. Yeah, I have some bullets, some 3.5 bullets on my hexacopter that I forgot that the motors came with both male and female bullets for the motor wires. And when I first started, I just grabbed a bag that I had in my kit to solder on for the initial one, and they were I'm pretty sure they were Hobby King, just motor bullets, and for some reason that one motor feels really loose, like what you're saying. So I wonder if the males, like the tolerances, sometimes they might be a little bit slimmer than they need to be, or because I think I'm using the same females on everything, so. I don't know. I'll have to look at that now that you mention it and see if that particular motor is the one that I did those other bullets on. But I can definitely tell a difference. They're a little bit looser and not enough to make me nervous, but I like to feel a little pressure when I put them in.
Right. And I tried, like running a razor blade down the slits, kind of spread them out a little bit. And that tightens them up, but I also noticed in a very short amount of time they start to feel loose again. It's like they're not made out of a really good high-quality spring steel to be able to hold that position. But
just change them. It's not worth the effort. Trust
exactly.
me.
Right. Exactly.
I am looking at my helicopter at the moment, going, yep. I knew that those connectors were a little bit on the loose side, and I didn't do anything about it. I didn't even try spreading it or anything. I just went, they'll be fine. And I should know by now that if you're saying, they'll be fine, it's because they're not fine, and you're trying to convince yourself that they will be fine.
Right. That's why I went ahead and I went to A-Main, and they happened to have a sale on these nice ProTech 3.5 millimeter bullets, so I ordered a bunch. Put them on, and I really like them. They're nice fit.
Yeah, I think the key is to order those types of things in bulk quantity, where you can find a fairly reasonable deal on high-end quality, just because of the sheer volume, the money you save in shipping or whatever, and then just keep a stockpile of them. But if you try and buy them like I do, like a moron, I'll buy 4 to 8 at a time when I need them, and then every time I build something new, I got to buy more, and I just I keep looking for the cheap way out every time I build.
Yeah, I always try to buy more than I need because I know, if it not today, down the road, I'm going to need it. So
yeah,
and that's saved my bacon more than once. So what? Just real quick question: what ESCs are you using on the Hex?
The Hex, I am using ZTW Spiders. They're 40 amp.
Okay.
They've got the Simon K firmware on them.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot more than I need for that Hex. I could get away with probably 20 amp ESCs, but they'll run really cool because I'm not pulling nearly what they can give. So
yeah,
I'm hoping that's my plan anyway.
I'm also wondering. I was going to ask this last week. Maybe we can get into this a little bit later. But in regards the same issue with props, because I see a lot of discussion about props. A lot of people saying buy the Hobby King slow flies, but then there's GWS and there's APC. In general, I'm just wondering, because I don't have a lot of prop experience. If I'm buying, a more expensive, higher end prop, am I really getting more? I'm just curious about, the consistency of the pitch of a Hobby King prop.
Yeah, what I can tell you from my experience, first of all, they're molded, so in theory they're all, gonna be the same, from prop to prop. But on the slow flies, I can't tell a difference between the Hobby King props, which is what I'm running on my tricopter now, but I've also bought some of the other name brand ones that everybody talks about. I can't remember what they are, but it turns out they look identical. I can't tell a difference between them as far as how flexible they are or how they look, and I think they're so flexible anyway. When I'm balancing, if it's a little bit out of adjustment, I just tweak it a little bit and it gets to where it needs to be.
Right.
So the slow fly props, I feel like just buying the $1 or $2 a pair of Hobby King ones are fine. For my planes, I use APC props only. I feel like there's a lot more room for the thicker, heavier props to have, odd misdrilled center holes or weird stuff like that. So I've just kind of settled in on those, and that works out well for me. So, but yeah, the slow flies, the big ones, I can't really tell the difference between the Hobby Kings and the name brands on my stuff.
Okay.
Now I don't know if that's the same thing for the carbon fibers. For the hexacopter, I've got some. I'm actually putting some dual sky. I've got dual sky props and I've got Taro props for that, and they're both carbon fiber. But I don't know yet the differences between those on the carbon fibers.
Okay.
But maybe somebody else has some other input on Hobby King props, but
more carbon.
More carbon.
More carbon.
Okay.
And buy them in 560 millimeter instead of.
Anything above 500 mil is fine by me.
Yeah, somehow I knew that was coming. All right, let's move on. Now let's hit Casper up. How you doing, buddy?
Well, pretty good. Had quite a few storms here in the mid part of the country, so it's hard to get a lot of flying in. Got the 450 blade put back together after I put in the fly bar and changed out the main gear. In doing so, I found that the tail drive gear had a crack in it, as did the anti-rotation shaft. So I had to replace both of those and got them in today. Flew pretty well, but the tracking was off, so I got the tracking adjusted. So that one's ready to go now. Got a little time in on the 5, which is working for me. And then the problem child is the Tero 480. And the issue there was I couldn't get enough tail authority to counteract the gyrotation of the main. So I was reading Finless Bob's column, and he says he thinks there's a design problem with it and recommend the trailing edge connection. So I did the trailing edge connection and would do that, but I'm not sure if the Roberg is setting up with rate mode or heading hold, because whenever I set it for heading hold, I don't get much variation in the rudder authority left or right. But when I bring it down to rate mode, then I seem to have full rotation, full authority both directions.
Is is your channel reversed on the Roberg? Because when you flip whatever switch it is you're using to set your rates on that Roberg channel display screen, the very at the front end of the setup, is it reversed there that maybe you actually have it backwards where it's running in rate instead of heading hold?
Yeah, but I finally got it where I could start it up and it wouldn't be gyrating on the ground. So I tried to fire it up today, and I got it rotating fast enough, and about the time I was about ready to break ground, the thing kind of tumulted, and I was slapping the edges of the main rotors on the concrete before it took off. So I had to bring it back, and I noticed one link was disconnected off one of the servos to the swash, but I don't know if that was a result of the main rotors hitting or not. But I've got another set of blades but I'm going to first of all put on a better gear that'll give me a little wider stance and a little more elevation. I'll put a 500 align gear on it and then give it a try and then put the new blades on and see how that goes.
So did you ever have this thing flying before it was a 480? Like did you build it as a 450 first?
No, went straight to 480. Yeah.
Interesting. So I mean, there's a real possibility there could be a setup glitch somewhere that you haven't found yet.
Right.
But one other thing on the tail to look at is, are you taking advantage of the full tail shaft? Because your tail rotor assembly will slip onto the shaft, and then you'll thread lock it down to hold it in place, and you can actually push that into the point where you have a little bit of tail shaft hanging out the end, versus giving yourself more room by pulling that out as far as you can. You might look at that too. I seem to remember pulling mine out a little bit further to give me more room there.
Yeah.
And then also which direction in neutral your pitch is set. If your pitch is set backwards in neutral, then you're going to use half your stick to get it to where it needs to be, and then you've lost the rest of it for the flight. So.
Yeah, and another checking normal.
Wait, go ahead, Abe.
I think I lagged then a bit. A good way of checking heading hold and normal is to pick the model up and then just move the tail sort of 20 or 30 degrees to the left or to the right. And in normal mode, the servo will offset whilst you're moving. But when you stop moving the tail, it'll come back to center. In heading hold, it will stay offset.
Okay.
So, until you then bring it back to center again.
Mm.
If you go too far, then it runs out of servo travel, and then but if you just go 10 or 20 degrees either way, left and right, then you'll feel the servo offset and stay offset when you stop moving the tail. Yeah, so you'll pick the model up, you'll move the tail around a little bit, and the servo will move and stay offset. So it will give you, say, left or right pitch to counteract the movement you've given, and it will stay there until you bring the tail back to where it was. Whereas in rate mode, the servo will offset whilst you're moving, and then as soon as you stop moving, the servo will return to center.
Yeah.
And the same thing the other way. The servo will, when you're moving, coming back, the servo will offset the other direction whilst you're moving, and then you sit still. When you stop moving the tail, the servo will then come back to center again.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Yeah. But the thing that puzzled me when I had the transmitter set up for what I thought was the heading hold range, I didn't get very much range of motion along the slider on the tail. It would only go maybe halfway either direction. But when I brought it down into rate mode, I had full travel along the slider the whole length of the shaft. And I wouldn't think it would affect the servo movement on...
Some gyros work strangely on the ground.
Yeah.
You won't necessarily get full stick travel when you're not in a setup mode of some description. Depends on the software.
Yeah.
But it's not unheard of to not get full servo travel at full stick when you're sat on the ground.
Yeah. Okay.
It's rare, but not uncommon.
Well, since I have all of my 480 stretch parts here, I'm going to be tearing down my 450 and doing some work on it. So maybe we can, and I'm going to leave the Robird on it, so I'm going to have to redo all of my setup. So maybe we can kind of tag up and see if there's any similarities there.
Good enough.
I'll try and record what I'm doing, and that way you can see. And if you see something that looks different or that you had a question about, just let me know. So I'll help you as long as I can. But be interesting for me. I've never stretched anything yet, so we'll see how much that changes it.
A good rule of thumb on to see how much tail pitch you're getting is to fold both the tail blades together like that. Yeah. So that if the shaft is there, you fold both the tail blades together, and then you look across the shaft, and then what you'll see is that on full right stick they'll do that, and on full left stick they'll do that. Yeah. What you're looking for is about 90 degrees of right. With right stick, about 90 degrees between the two tail blades.
Right.
If you're getting a lot less than that, then that's not enough. It needs to be up near there somewhere.
At full stick, right?
Full right stick.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
And in center, it wants to be about that much right. Something like that, about that sort of angle. What's that, about 15 degrees or so?
Yeah, that would make sense, because 7 to 8, right, times 2, so yeah. Cool.
Good park figures.
All right, let's see here. Rifted.
Hey. All right, so what I've been working all week, it's been my little mini H-quad. A drone frames. I'm getting ready for July meeting up on Ohio, so I'm planning on taking something and fly there. I'm not sure how complicated that's going to be, but that was my whole work, but I haven't been able to catch a little bit of a flight because there's been constant rain down here, and obviously it stopped raining whenever I'm working, and well, it's been a really busy week so far, and a couple questions that some of you have been having problems with the ESCs. I haven't had any problems with the Afros. I have a 30 and 20 Mountain on 2 different quadcopters, and I haven't had any problems with them. Plus NASA installing them, and it's not. I haven't complained anything. I haven't crashed it, so it's a little bit strange.
Yeah, well, my problems with the Afros were pretty much my fault, I think, by putting them in a position where they would overheat. or like I said, that cold solder. But Dave's is an anomaly. It could just be a bad servo too. But which, by the way, Dave, that brings me to the question: the one that you had to mess with soldering to get the firmware, was that the one you were having problems with, or do you know?
No, I hadn't. No, it wasn't.
Okay, I was just curious.
I actually had the problems I had were all three of them at any one time.
Oh, okay.
And only on your, but your tricopter is flying with what flying control, Dave?
I'm sorry?
Your tricopter, you set it up with what kind of flight control?
Oh, using KK 2.1 with the Hobby King DT 750 motors, and that's for whatever reasons. The interesting thing with the Afro ESCs is, for whatever the reason, they have the biggest issue with the DT 750 motors. Other motors as well, but for some reason, the DT 750s really seem to be problematic with the Afros. The other interesting thing is there are people that fly them, that combination, the DT 750s with the Afro ESCs, never have a problem. There are people that have had problems and upgraded the firmware, problem went away. There's people that have had the problem, upgraded the firmware, still have the problem. It's odd that you can find people that have the exact same setup, and there are people that have never had a problem, and there are people that have nothing but problems.
Yeah, because my tricopter flies with the Hobby King type, but it's the let me check real quick. Hold on. Cheap Hobby King 20 amp UBEC. I think it's not there, but this one's, and they haven't had any problems. I reflashed them with the Simon K, and they fly completely okay. Although I'm not flying with, I'm flying them with 10-inch props and 3-cell. I'm not sure if you're trying to use 4-cell with smaller props.
Yeah, I'm also using 3-cell with 10-inch props.
Okay. Well, might be with a problem because my Tarot 650 have Simon K, and they have big motors. They have a 580. They're also a Hobby King. It's the green ones from Multistar, and it flies around 15 minutes without any problems. And I haven't pulled down from sky, so not sure what's been your problem. And they're buried into the frame, so. CPO mentioning the other day that a little bit of an overheat causing it to shut down start to make me think that probably I'm going to take them off there and put it next to the motors like his build of the 680. So probably going to try that afterwards.
Yeah, the funny thing about the build of the 680 is that there's a lot of people saying, oh well, you don't want to extend the battery to ESC wires because that creates problems, but that's a calculated risk I'm taking. But just know that some people recommend putting extra capacitors on the ESC if you're going to do that. So.
Oh really? Oh. Okay.
Not sure if you've seen that, but it's one of those, it's like bringing up religion, right? There's some very strong opinions on different sides about what is right and what is wrong. Except the problem is I haven't seen anything authoritatively that tells me it's going to be a problem. I guess it used to be a problem with planes with a long run between the battery and the ESC, and the way that the ESC cycles power and pulls and stops and pulls and stops. The way it pulses, it would generate spikes in electrical current because the current can't like instantly stop. Like it will build up pressure, so to speak, during those pulses, and eventually wear out your ESC capacitors. That's what the best way I can explain what I think I know about it. And what they're saying is if you put more capacitors in line, then it will minimize that. It kind of gives a little bit of overflow buckets for things. But I'm building it straight, just extending the motor wires straight to the battery, and I don't anticipate a problem. But just want to make sure you knew that was a risk. But most people, I don't know of anybody who's actually had a problem with it. I just heard of people theoretically talking about how electrically it might be a problem, but I don't know anybody who has. So.
Oh, well, there's a lot of variants and stuff involved. So
yeah,
as testing goes, everybody learns.
That's right. So I figure if I have problems with it, I'll look at a solution. But I'm not gonna expect a problem until something tells me that I need one. So on the flip side of that, I am taking extra precautions with how much amperage I'm pushing, or I guess pulling, by beefing up. Going to EC5 connectors and beefing up some of my my components to handle at least 90 to 100 continuous amps, which I was a little nervous about the XT60s that come on the batteries, that was going to be enough to handle a constant of even a constant of 60 makes me nervous on EC60s, but or XT60s.
I've been playing with XT60s and I haven't had any problems. I put them in everything I got and I haven't had any problems. I have problems with the blue ones, but the ones that E-Flight uses, the little ones, I have had a lot of problems with those. There's short circuits, and constantly whenever you plug them, and there's a little bit of a spark, it's started melting them down, and then you don't have a proper connection. And actually, that brought down my E-Flight 450 once, and I replaced those with XT60s, and I haven't had any problems. So,
do you fly anything more than four motors?
No, I haven't built anything.
Okay. Yeah, and see, I wouldn't have if I was building a quadcopter, I wouldn't have a concern with XT60s, but with the Hex, and you I don't know if you've seen my bench test video, but if you add all of that up, 6 motors, it starts to push the limits of what I feel comfortable with sustained.
Have you tried? Well, have you seen the XT90s?
I have, yeah, and I thought about the XT90s, but then I decided, why not just go with the EC5s? If I've got to change something out, EC5s are rated, I forget what it was, minimum of like 120 or whatever, so it gives me plenty of room, and then I can use them for other things too if I want to. So.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, let's Raj. I see you finally made it after a couple of weeks of trying. Uh-oh. You're on mute. You're on mute, Raj.
Or your mic is not plugged.
All right, we'll give him a few minutes to get sorted.
I wish I'd allow you to unmute people.
Yeah, I know. You can mute them, but you can't unmute them.
It's so annoying. I don't know if you noticed on the show, it's like, we start there going, yes, unmute yourself. Yeah, no, you need to unmute yourself. You're talking. Can't hear you. Unmute yourself.
How about now?
Yeah, now we can hear you.
There you go.
Okay. How are you guys?
Oh, hey, guess what? Before we change, Aid, you can unmute people in the control room.
You can.
Yeah, I just unmuted Casper to see if I could do it, and I can mute him and unmute him from the control room.
Oh, so I can Yeah, so on the show, yeah, I can't do it here.
So maybe if you're running the Hangout, you can mute and unmute people.
I do run Hangout. I shall thank you for that.
Yeah, I can't do it from down below in the little the little boxes of people's videos.
Yeah.
Which was confusing me. I thought I should be able to do it from there, but I can't. But if you go to the control room, you can.
Ah, useful piece of information.
There we go.
Liquor.
See, even you can learn something in these Hangouts.
Oh, I'm always learning.
All right, Raj. Sorry, back to you.
That's okay. I've had kind of an up and down week. Right now I'm in Nashville. I came down to Nashville for the Music City F3C FAI helicopter meet. This will be my second trip down here to meet with these guys. They have a little contest annually, and I came down last year and enjoyed hanging out and watching these guys do some really precision flying. It was fun. On the helicopter news, I got good news and I got bad news. I was able to maiden the Synergy N7, but now I'm having troubles with the push glow again, eating glow plugs. I'm on my second one of those, and they're failing. I've lost two of them, and when they fail, they put 8 volts across the glow plug, and that'll make a glow plug go off like a flash bulb. So right now the Synergy's down again. And then on Wednesday, I dumb-thumbed my Goblin into the ground. My tail went nuts, and I kind of panicked a little bit, and I tried to get it down quickly, and it was a bad move and broke it pretty good. Now, I am fortunate that I had a complete airframe that I was going to use as a spare parts locker, so right now I'm in the process of moving my electronics from the crashed airframe to the spare parts airframe. So I'm about 80% done with that. I was hoping to get it done to bring down here with me. Yeah, one of the guys that I fly with bought it, and he was not happy with Saab over the motor recommendations, so he decided to dump it. And I decided, well, there's a complete airframe that he's going to get rid of, so I might as well buy it and keep it for spare parts, because I know someday I'm going to need them. So unfortunately, someday. So, one thing about having it there, though, is that I'll be able to get back flying. I should have it back together completely next week, and then I can just take my time buying the spare parts I need to get the other airframe backed up to snuff. So, nice. And I also what all did I damage on the Goblin?
Yeah, that's where I was going.
Okay, it hit pretty much level on the skids, so the skids are gone. The both frame part halves broke. The swash, the bearing in there is real notchy now, so I have to replace that. And the swash follower arms on the head, they're bent. Have to replace those. And canopy is gone. That's toast. And both the main blades and one of the tail rotor blades is dead. So it was a hard hit. And the transmission base looks straight. The motor mount appears okay. The motor's okay. All the servos look good. I haven't fired up the ESC to see if it's going to function properly, but it looks good. The plastic battery tray holder and bottom frame, that's okay. It did bend one of the aluminum standoffs that go through the bottom part, So I have to replace one of those, but you know, I might even be able to straighten that. I haven't checked the main shaft or the, you know, I took the main shaft countertop and it appeared fine. I've got a small lathe. I'm going to chuck it up on the lathe and see what kind of run out I get with it. And the spindle shaft is still in the head, so I haven't taken that apart yet. It's going to be a pricey fix.
Yeah, sounds like it. Well,
Yep.
sounds like a rekit. Good thing you had another kit.
Yeah. It's like I say, I was fortunate that I was able to get that. Otherwise, I'd be waiting around for parts. And now I'm, you know, practically all done getting it put back together.
Well,
and I have to call the guy that makes the that they're not really rated for a 2S battery. You know, his specifications say they work up to 9 volts, but you know, I've had 2 of them now fail me on a 2S battery pack, and that 2S battery pack generally runs 8.4 volts, 8.5. So maybe that's what's making these things croak on me. But when it does go bad, it eats my glow plug, and a glow plug is $8, you know.
Youch.
And the Skookum, you know, I bought the Skookum 720BE, and I put it on the helicopter, and with it just sitting on the bench, every once in a while the servos will just do what looks like a pitch pump, just raise, go positive and collective, and then snap right back to where their resting position is. And I've been trying to get a replacement for this thing now for almost 3 weeks, and I just don't hear anything from them. Getting a little frustrated. Now I've asked for one of 2 things, either a refund or a replacement for both the controller and the power bus that I bought. And they say, well, we're working on trying to get one. We don't really have any in stock right now. We're trying to make arrangements with A-Main to get me a replacement, but kind of getting frustrated. The N7 did fly nice, though. One of the guys that I fly with had an extra V-bar that he had bought and decided not to use on his
I think we lost you, Raj.
Connection problem.
All right. Well, he'll come back to life soon. I see Lee couldn't sleep tonight.
Yep.
Actually, I could sleep. That's what happened. I fell asleep. I've just woken up again.
How you been?
Okay. What's been going on? The Goblin. No crashing.
That's a good thing.
Hey, Raj is back.
Yeah, the Goblin's been flying okay. Although a couple of flights ago, I heard a funny noise. Sounded like something slipping mid tick-tock. So I landed very sharpish and gave it a look over. The only thing I could think of was that the one-way bearing might have slipped. I checked everything else, couldn't find anything. So I took the gear off and gave it a bit of a clean because there was quite an excessive amount of grease in there. So I cleaned the shaft and the one-way bearing and put it back up again yesterday, and the noise had disappeared, so I'm hoping that's what it was. I gave it some severe pitch pumps and nothing happened. There was no noise, so I'm guessing that's what it was.
Yeah, it was the TikToks.
Yeah.
Don't do TikToks.
Yeah, that's the way. Don't do it. It won't happen.
That's boring. You have to do TikTok.
Well, if that's the case, I'm safe, man.
Yeah, just don't do TikToks. They're ugly.
The warp. I think it sounds like my warp's head speed are dropping. So I'm thinking maybe the batteries are getting a bit tired. So I might need to get some new ones of those. And
wearing out a heli is a good problem to have, I think.
Yeah. And the quad, we seem to have come to a conclusion with the problems I've been having over the last year with motor stopping. I've been speaking with Dave about that. There's, I think it's the Afro ESCs. They don't talk very well with the type of motors that I've got. And the original firmware on them was losing sync with the timing. And unfortunately, what happens when it loses sync is it just stopped the motors. So I was told, or we found out, that the new firmware should help that. So I updated the latest firmware, and now instead of the motors stopping, they just start to cog slightly. So, which was an improvement, but it showed me there was a problem, and what the problem was. Before that, I was just guessing and randomly changing things and not really knowing what was wrong. But I took it out day before yesterday and flew again, just sort of 10 feet in front of me, and I could hear the noise after about 2 minutes, the sudden sort of screeching noise, and it just dropped out the sky. So I'm pretty much sure, 100%, it's the ESCs with that type of motor. So I'm going to remove those and purchase the ESCs that are supposed to go with those motors in the first place, and hopefully that'll solve the problem.
Wow, Afro's getting a bad rap tonight.
Oh yeah?
Let's send them all to Rifted. He's the only one that seems to have no problems with them.
I'm still defending them.
That's funny. Okay, cool.
Probably because of not the amount of pulls that my motors have. I haven't tested them with the DT750s, but all my other motors, I think they're 14 pulls. They're not above 14 pulls, so probably that's my. I haven't had any problems with them. If I go with 22s, probably that's going to be a problem.
Yeah, that could be. That could easily be it. All right. Well, let's see. Oh, hat logo. So thanks for everybody that gave feedback. I told you I wanted a logo for my hat, so bam, that just happened.
Hey, you got it off center. I'd take that hat back. Don't put it in the middle like it's supposed to be.
No, I'm wearing it like it's supposed to be, but yeah, the logo I couldn't take it right in the middle. It's too common. It had to be different. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I'm rocking my advertisement here.
You're gonna make them available, or you're just gonna?
If anybody cares, they're not that expensive actually. So.
I'd wear one for you.
All right. Well, let me figure out what she'll do for volume discounts, and
okay.
I'll put something together. But I also have a T-shirt. Actually, I ordered one just to see how it would turn out. Let me see if I can find screen share.
You're gonna put the logo on the front or the back of the T-shirt?
Both. Check this out.
I probably won't be able to see it. Oh, there it is. Oh, that's.
So the front has the logo, center, and then the back says "Fly something, fly everything," and then it's got another small logo.
Yeah, so, that's cool.
I made one of those up. I'll have it here next week. I found somebody who would do it, just a one-off, to let me test and see how it works. But I don't know. I was just messing around.
You're a pretty artsy fartsy kind of a guy, aren't you?
Oh, I get wild hairs that cause me to do strange things in the middle of the night.
Hey,
So
all over your face.
yeah, a lot of wild hairs growing there.
Yeah.
I'm starting to get what is it, 70s circus performer look going. So
Okay.
I'm not wearing tights in case you want to know. But
was
yeah.
wondering
So
if Christmas was around.
what's that?
I was wondering if Christmas was around. Still 6 months away.
It's not quite white yet, so you can't call me Santa Claus.
You know,
Not yet.
Chris,
Okay.
Chris, most people grow beards in the wintertime, not in the summertime.
Yeah, well, mine's still going to be here in the wintertime if I get my way.
Okay.
I'm gonna try and let it grow for as long as of a year as I can get it. So
As long as Mrs. Chris will let you, huh?
yeah, she stated her opinion, and I have acknowledged it, and we'll just see how that goes from here on out. So
Yeah,
she clearly
I was
does not
kind of
like
thinking
it.
maybe you were growing it because you were a hockey fan and were waiting for a playoff team to be eliminated or something. But no, playoffs are over and you still got it.
Yeah. I've been wanting to do it for a while, and I just figured, what the heck, I'm gonna quit shaving, see what happens. So.
Looks good.
Oh, thanks. I get a lot of comments on it. Actually, it surprises me how much people. I mean, I started wearing glasses and nobody noticed, but everybody talks about the beard. So you know, it's fairly prominent. I don't know what I look like without it now. So, a couple things I want to chat about, and I definitely, since we have Aid on, because you know, we always pick his brain when he shows up. And I'm curious if you've got any more AccuRC goodies for us. So I want to talk about that. I also want to talk about something that I'm thinking about doing, and I'm not sure if it's worth doing. I guess I'll start with that because now you guys are all like, "What the heck is he talking about?" So I was thinking about doing a video series on how to do 3D maneuver, and using a flight sim. As you know, the vehicle to make that happen, but I actually want to do a video on how to do TikToks, but not because I know how to do TikToks, because I'm learning how to do I want to learn how to do TikToks, and I think it would be interesting to do a video of my progression as I learn how to do them. And everything that I'm figuring out along the way, and all the tips I get from, you know, people like you who already can do these things. So I'm actually looking at it from a different perspective, which is, you know, here's how sucky I am today, and then, you know, practicing these things and working on these things, and, you know, logically, you know, solving problems in my head about what to do about certain issues. I thought it might be an interesting series to do, like 4 so videos of, you know, here's me not doing TikToks, and here's me like, oh, okay, they actually look something like a TikTok, which I can do something that looks like a TikTok today, don't get me wrong, but they're not clean, they're not steady, so I was thinking about trying to figure out if that's worth doing or if that's just a colossal boring waste of time. Either way, I'm going to learn TikToks, and my opinion is, in getting into 3D maneuvers, you know, other than, you know, like the you know, the basic flips and rolls, which you don't even have to be good at much to be able to do those. Flying inverted, a little more work, but I think the cool thing about TikToks is, I think it's one of those things that defines 3D flight, right? I mean, almost every 3D flight that you see out there, somebody's going to throw a TikTok somewhere into that routine. So it's kind of one of those things that is a definition when it comes to 3D, and it's an easy enough maneuver, I think, that you don't have to be really good at all the other aspects of 3D flight that people tend to get good at over the long haul, such as, you know, flying, you know, tail forward, or being really good at inverted flight, or all orientations, or you know, pyros, or, you know, pyro flips, or, all of those things. I think you can kind of get away with TikToks because it's a momentary change, and as long as you can get good at working that out, you don't have to be good at all that other stuff. And I don't know if that makes sense or not, but I've been practicing them a little bit, and I'm starting to figure out how to better control them. I can do those flyaway TikToks where it's like it starts here, and then pretty soon it goes and leaves, and I have to like bring it back. But I want to get to that point where it actually, the tail is fairly well locked in, and I'm starting to figure out ways to do that, through my own practice. But I thought it might be interesting for other people to see the progression. I just didn't know if it was actually going to be interesting or not. So the other thing is it gives me an opportunity to get feedback on what I'm doing wrong or how I can do it better as I learn. So I don't know. Any thoughts on that from experience or beginners?
I think it's an interesting idea. I was just going to say, I think from a beginner, I think it's an interesting idea.
Are you TikTok aware?
No, not at all.
Okay. It's weird. It's I don't know why. That's the one thing I'm like. I think that's the maneuver that I really want to focus on because I think I can do it, even not having everything else nailed down. So, Aid, what were you saying?
A couple of tips for you. I mean, it's a great idea. I like it. It's pretty cool. And I actually spent a bit of time just sat at the field Thursday going, oh, I've crashed my helicopter, but it's a nice day, so I'll stay here and stand around nattering. And just watching one of the guys trying to learn to do piraflips. And it's quite an interesting thing to watch, sort of the brain kind of try and cope with it, trying to work out what's going on. And I think that the TikToks will be a nice kind of, in a similar way, be quite interesting, especially if you go into lots of detail about the control. Actually, a lot of people, they do maneuvers, but they don't really do it in a position and maintain a position, and they'll kind of do it for a little bit, and then it will start drifting off. So then they'll, rather than correcting it and bringing it back, they'll, whilst carrying on doing the maneuver, they'll give up and go and do something else. So if you mix the control in there as well, that would be cool. And as far as the TikTok is concerned, start slow and wide, so almost rainbow. So kind of doing sort of 45 degrees either way, going from there to there. So maybe sort of 6 foot arc width for the tail. So a fairly wide, kind of nice and slow, nice solid stop at each end, and then that'll teach you the control a lot better.
Yeah, that's actually where I started. Was probably more rainbow than anything else. Where and I'm finding out where I need to focus on my control. But going from a standard upright hover and then rainbowing all the way over to an invert and then stop and hold and then rainbow back. And what I find is, depending on how I stop, the heli wants to kind of drift away on that stop because I'm not stopping at the right point. I'm overshooting it, and then I'm drifting. So control right now is where I think my focus is, not speed.
Yeah, and there's 2 ways of controlling the. If you were to do it top towards yourself, then there's 2 ways of controlling the left and right position. So if you tilt, use a little bit of tail rotor, so you just tilt the model slightly sideways, and then carry on doing the TikToks, then it'll travel in the direction that it points. Yeah. So if you're tail down, top towards yourself, then if you point the tail to the left, then the model will fly to the left. And the same thing if you tilt the tail to the right, the nose to the right, sorry, it'll and carry on doing the TikToks, that it'll tip to the right. Now the other way of doing it is to push a little bit of aileron in with the elevator. So when you push the model away from yourself with a little bit of elevator and the negative pitch, if you push in, say, a little bit of right aileron with that, it'll push the model to the left. Yeah, do you see what?
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I didn't know. So I've been getting the aileron gives me some side, and I've actually been practicing side in because I like to be able to see the heli do its thing when it's rotor towards me. I feel like I can't feel it as well as I can side in. So I'll look at that as well. But I've been trying to keep the tail pointed down, but I didn't really equate the tail to part of the side-to-side movement. I did get, the ailerons, how I can adjust it and get it kind of, go rocking off to a side one way or the other with the ailerons. But I haven't tried using the tail to counter that. I've just been trying to keep the tail straight down, which is actually sometimes hard. And I also find this is what's also showing me really blatantly how horrible my stick interactions are when I want to move the collective, up and down, and how much I actually influence the tail side to side. Instead, so I'm working on the stick control and trying to figure out how to grip so that when I'm moving the collective, let's just say I wanted to just do collective and elevator. How I can do that without all these other side-to-side interactions, which, quite frankly, was a lot harder than I expected. It seems like every time I move a stick, I'm moving it in, 2 directions minimum.
Have you tried just tightening up the spring tensions just a fraction? Don't go heavy, but if that is something that might help, if you just tighten up the spring interactions and then just concentrate in your head to make sure that you're not pushing against any springs when you're not supposed to be, that might help.
Yeah, that's a good idea. If anything, just for the training, even if I loosen them up later for regular flight or whatever. But I did try, and I think this might be a bad habit, and I don't think this is the route I want to take. But I did find, if I loosen up my grip on the sticks, and instead of gripping them, because I'm a pincher, so instead of pinching them tightly and moving them back and forth, I kind of push them up and down, with a loose grip, and I'm afraid that's a bad habit because I don't have this full control that way. I move the sticks the way I want, but I'm afraid I'm giving up a little bit of control. So I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
When you're holding the sticks, are you finger and thumb behind like that?
I'm like this. My thumb kind of comes over the top.
Yeah, you're still a little bit behind though, aren't you?
Yeah.
Right on the top, and then the finger is more of a support.
Let me, yeah, because what I find is my finger, hits here, and it also moves. I don't know if maybe I need to raise or not. These are things I never noticed when flying all the other, forward flight type stuff. But in the TikToks, it's like it shows up so readily. But so what I was doing is just kind of, just pushing a little bit, and I felt like I was I wasn't gripping it. I was just, moving it back and forth, and I don't think I like that.
Yeah, no, I spotted somebody doing that the other day, and I gave him a right bollocking. Like,
yeah.
Hey, you did let go of the stick,
Yeah. So that's it's part of what I want to do is exactly this, is kind of work through the mental side of what changes I need to make to get them right. And as you said, I can fake it pretty well if I do them really fast. I can make a fairly decent looking TikTok, but only for a short period of time before I can't control the direction anymore. And then it looks like a dolphin swimming away on me, and I'm sure that's not the right move. That's probably a different move that I just mastered, the dolphin maneuver.
It's the bottom quarter of a aileron tick-docking loop.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I'm gonna work that into it. When I become a 3D master, you're gonna see the dolphin, and you're gonna know where it started.
I assume that you've looked around and see if there are any other instructional videos out there presently.
Oh yeah, I've watched them. I watched some of the pros do them. I've read all the stuff. Yeah. So
And then,
the interesting thing about those is that's all people who already know how to do TikToks telling people how to do TikToks, and there's a huge gap in applying that information. It's you lose the feel of not knowing how to do it. So I forget who Nick.
Maxwell?
Yeah, it was Nick Maxwell. I'm pretty sure it was him. Did a really nice video actually on TikToks, but it's still. I mean, he's Nick Maxwell, right? So Maxwell, so he can do them with his eyes closed, and it's. But yeah, so yeah, I'm definitely looking at what is already out there, and there's some other good instruction videos on the Sims that have given me some tips. So.
And then, are you thinking using maybe PIP to show the controls as well as the reaction of the heli, or?
Yeah, well, yeah, on the sim, my
movement.
controls would be on there.
Yeah, because you'd have to show the relation of the stick movement with the actual movement of the heli.
Yeah, that's what's great about doing it on the sim. Number one is I don't have to worry about crashing it. Number two, I can screen capture it pretty easy and have my controls right there. So.
Didn't hear it from me. Well, you did hear it from me, but there's something very, very special about the way Accuracy does videos.
Okay, let's do it. Tell me, you got my curiosity peaked now.
I can't say any more than that. Sorry.
I can't kick you off of this, you know.
That is one of the things I can't talk about.
Is that the only thing you can't talk about?
Yeah, pretty much.
How about a release date?
I can't tell you what I don't know. It's it's not going to be months and months and months. I know that for a fact.
Well, it doesn't look like it's going to be June, that's for sure.
No, it's not going to be June. But I strongly suspect. I don't know, as I say. I haven't been told a date. But judging by the noises that have been coming out of the various developers and stuff, and because I've been talking to the suppliers and stuff as well, and yeah, I'm not going to say any more than that.
Well, you guys are just hitting beta, so
I think beta 6 came out tonight. They've been doing they've been doing a couple of weeks worth of testing and then chucking another one out, and then there'll be another couple of weeks testing and chucking another one out. I think we're on 6 now, and it's very, very close to being. I mean, no software's ever bug-free, obviously, but in my opinion, this is my personal opinion. I would quite happily throw this out the door and go, yep, that's good enough for release, for first release. You know, there'll be updates along with, coming through pretty regularly anyway, so get it out the door. So I really can't see it being that long.
Yeah, I mean, look what they did with Phoenix version 5. I mean,
they killed it.
Tossing something out the door.
Yeah, but the Phoenix don't do beta testing at all.
Sure they do. We are.
They do.
Yeah, the customers.
They do it the same way Microsoft does.
Yeah.
I think even Microsoft do a bit more beta testing than that. Yeah, so some of the updates. There's two or three of the Phoenix updates that came out, sort of like on the same day as each other, and I sort of installed the one that came out in the morning and went, right, yeah, okay, they just completely broken it. It just doesn't even fly. I mean, like, it seems like the CAG would be off the bottom of the model and stuff like that, and it's just, really? What the hell are you doing? And then later on in the afternoon, they released another one going, oh, yeah, cool, we fixed the thing we broke earlier. Sorry.
Yeah, that's crazy. The good thing about the Phoenix debacle is it was enough justification for me to move to real flight. So
yeah, there was a bit of a concern actually with that because of that happened a bit too early for accuracy. So
yeah.
there were too many people got annoyed with Phoenix and went out and bought real flight. And now there's the question of, are those people that have bought real flight now going to go and see the advantage? I mean, there is a clear advantage of of accuracy versus real flight. So, I mean, there will be the dedicated people, dedicated followers of fashion that will do that, but whether the general populace will is another matter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next.
So while we're on accuracy, I don't know what kind of buzz you guys hear, but I listen to podcasts and follow the forums and all that, and I can tell that there's a general level of excitement about the things that you guys have already shared that it can do, the graphics and the ability to to interact with the individual components of the heli and model those different things. And then I think there's another group of people who are nervous that there's so much focus on that how does it fly sort of a problem. It's like, well, if you're spending all the time talking about this, then it must not fly very good. But I'm assuming you guys, and I'm throwing you guys in there because you have become the de facto spokesman for accuracy to us anyway. I'm sure that's been considered, right? That this thing does have good flight physics.
It's talking to Ash, and obviously flown it, but before I'd flown it, talking to Ash, and the focus, they could have put out something that does similar physics to everything else a number of years ago, but they decided that wasn't good enough. They wanted to go to the next generation. So not this sort of block physics, sort of force vector stuff that you see out of the current sims, but an actual aerodynamics, looking at angles of attack and airflows and over multiple parts of the rotor blade, around multiple parts of the revolution, and how that flow goes over the body and the tail rotor wash going through the blade and all of that kind of actual real world stuff, and getting that into the physics and the aerodynamics engine. Now, to do that properly, you need to have all the components there. So you need to have a servo that moves at a certain speed with a linkage that goes up through a swash plate, and a rotor blade that has a certain wing section on it, and chord and weight and center of gravity, and an actual proper flybarless system, and a motor that, when it gets hot, reduces the amount of power that it puts out. And all of this stuff, all this graphical stuff that you're seeing, is there because the physics and the aerodynamics engine needs it, not in any way to make it look pretty. Don't get me wrong, it does make it look pretty as well, but it is there to make it fly properly, to make the physics and aerodynamics engines work the way they should work.
So one of the things about sims actually that are appealing, right, is the ability to just fire them up, pick a heli, and go fly. I'm assuming, are there pre-built models that are already ready to go, kind of like you would have in Phoenix or Real Flight, where you just pick, I want to fly the Raptor 720 today and at this field, or do you have to build your heli first, or how does that exactly work?
All the models are pre-built with a preset component, so they have servos and a flybarless system and a set of blades on it, tail blades on it. They're ready to fly. You install the simulator, you plug the dongle in, you say, I'm running on a buddy lead or on a S-bus receiver or a Spectrum satellite, and then and you tell the simulator what transmitter it is. That's all pre-configured. There's none of this stirring the sticks around rubbish that you have to do on other simulators. You literally tell it what transmitter you've got. It assigns the channels to it. You set the transmitter to be a single servo swash setup, like you would do for most flybarless systems, or you can even use a plain setup. And pick a model, pick a flying site, and go fly. Now, obviously, everyone's got their own flying style, and there are presets for each model. So there's a Sport, a Pro, and a Sport, Expert, and Pro 3D, I think are what they're three called, which are pretty self-explanatory. And then you can then adjust the flybarless settings just like you do on your real model to get the flip rate and exponentials and all that, pyrrha rates and all that sort of stuff to your taste. So yeah.
So if I adjust the flybarless, let's say I don't know, let's say I'm flying a heli in the simulator that's got an icon, and I want to go adjust it. Do I see the same screen that I see on my actual icon software? Is it that realistic, or is it?
At the moment, they've only got their own version of a flybarless system in there. It's a fully prototyped flybarless system. It runs exactly the same code as Colin's own flybarless system that never made it to market because he started working on the simulator.
Okay, so you have a flybarless, but you don't get a collection of ones you might find in the stores or whatever. At
the moment, no, but in future there is a possibility that something along the lines of what you're talking about will happen.
Okay. Is that the same way with the servos? They're just certain speeds, servos, kind of no particular branding, just characteristics of a servo that you would select or modify?
Servos are all branded.
Okay.
All branded, and they specs off. I believe some of them they've actually tested the servos, and so they know everything about the servos. I believe. Don't quote me on that though.
Interesting.
But all the speeds and torques and that sort of thing are all in there.
Ability for people to share setups?
Yep.
What about custom, if I wanted to add a component or a flying site to the sim?
No, that is unfortunately due to the complexity of the simulator. All the components are all 3D modeled. That isn't going to be something that's going to happen. Right. But the way it will work is that the way it's been explained to me is that there will be a voting system. So you'll just, in the same way as the Q&A works on Hangouts, people will request a component, and then people will come along and go, oh yeah, somebody has requested this component. I want that component too, so they'll upvote it.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Upvote it and that'll raise it up the priority list. So everything will get through eventually. It's just a matter of which comes first.
So I can see the utility in being able to customize your setup, change servos or what have you, change, positions on the servo arm or whatever for, getting realistic flight out of the sim. But something tells me the whole point isn't to be able to fly realistically in the sim. I almost see that there's a way to do it the other way around, which is make changes in the sim that you might later apply to your real life heli. Is it that sort of a thing that?
Yeah, that's kind of the right sim. So you set, it's a bit more like the other way around. So you take your Synergy or Raptor or whatever, and go, right, well, I've got these servos and these blades and this motor and this speed controller and these batteries, and if you feed those components, you pick those components on accuracy, then it will be very, very close to what you've got once you've fine-tuned the flybarless to suit your own personal tastes as well.
Okay.
Vice versa, it will work vice versa as well.
Interesting.
Will it allow you, or is it limited in the choices you have per each model? Let's say I wanted to run 500 blades on a 450. Would I be limited to just a selection within the 450, or could I actually try an effort and put 500 blades on a 450?
Not something I've tried, to be honest, and I think the sim would go, no, you can't do that because the stuff will start hitting other things. So if you tried to put 550mm blades on a 450, it'd start hitting tail rotors and stuff like that. So, it wouldn't fit in the blade grips and that sort of thing. So all the real world mechanical limits would still apply.
Okay. Or maybe you wanted to run larger tail blades or something along those lines. I don't know if you're limited within a menu to only select those components, or if you can take from other models.
There's a whole load of all the components that are suitable with that model. Would be, say, if you had a Synergy E7 and a Rush, Elite Rush or something like that, so they're both 700 size. You have the same choice of motors and blades and servos and all that sort of stuff because they'd all be cross-compatible anyway. So anything that is cross-compatible with another model is available, as far as I'm aware.
And how about those models that can do dual voltage? Either they can run a 6S or a 12S. Do you give an option there, or like a
right
570? You can run it as a 6S or a 12S.
I'm not sure on that one actually. I haven't tried to do that.
Okay.
I think so. I think you can, yeah. When we start talking about other things, I'll go and have a play and let you know.
Okay.
Yeah, that is kind of interesting. I was kind of thinking of it as, if you got your heli flying the way your real life heli flies, similar components, similar setup, and you wanted to try something new to see how it would change, the flight dynamics. Say I wanted to change, servos or go out a hole on my my tail control arm. Is it realistic enough that you could test some changes in the sim to see if you notice a difference, or am I just dreaming that might be feasible?
It is, yes, but because you're not actually running at the moment, because you're not actually running the same. You're not running an icon on the simulator. You're running the simulator flybarless system. The way the icon behaves, because of the differences in software. I mean, all flybarless systems do a certain thing, but they have their own sensitivity to setup. So
that's a good point.
Yeah. So where sort of say my Spartan, the vortex on my X5 needs its endpoints to be over 120 or whatever it is. I think it is. Like others require them to be as very close to being 100. Or have the aerodynamic center set up properly. So, yes, to an extent.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because even if you do a mechanical change, you still have software controlling the response to that change, which is going to vary. So that makes sense.
Do you have flybarred models in there as well as flybarless?
Yes, there's a few flybarless models in at the moment. There's a Raptor 50 is one of them. Good old school Raptor 50.
Okay.
I think one of the T-Rexes is flybar as well, I think.
And for those, do you have a selection of gyros? Like I could do a Futaba or
again, with the gyro, I believe
generic?
it's just a generic gyro at the moment.
Okay.
adding gyros and fly-by-wire systems is a complex thing because obviously manufacturers are very protective of their code. As you've seen from people, like the K-Bar and that sort of thing, which have just basically taken Ricardo code and stuck it on their own bit of hardware and gone, oh, thank you very much. I'll sell this for a third of the price because I haven't done any of the development work. Mm-hmm. So for that reason, they're very protective of their code. So that's going to take some negotiations to get that sort of thing into the simulator. But I'm aware of at least one manufacturer at the moment that is there are definitely talks of adding their code, their actual fly-by-wire system to the simulator.
That'd be awesome.
But obviously, I can't tell you which one.
And we're still to the point, right, where you can still do this on a consumer machine. You don't need an engineering system. No, you have methods for controlling how much.
Yeah. I mean, you can turn the graphics up and down just like you can. The graphics load is very similar to any other simulator. So if your graphics card is up to running Phoenix or Real Flight or any of the others, then it will quite happily sit there and it will be enough to run accuracy. The unique bit with accuracy is that you can the physics and aerodynamics engine runs separately. There's a separate control for the physics. So, just in the same way you have a frame rate for graphics, which is capped at 60, you also have a physics frame rate as well. Now, you can, depending on how powerful your machine is, you can turn that up and down. So, if you have a full gaming machine, you can turn that up to, what's Kev running? 800 frames a second or something ridiculous on the physics. It might be even more than that. I can't remember exactly what it is. But so if you have a high spec, high end like i7, all the dog stangly bits on it, then you can max out the simulator. Sorry, English phrase. You can max out the simulator to take full advantage of your machine. But equally, if you've got a lower end machine, then you can turn it down. So my is it 3 gig? Oh yeah, my i3. I've got an i3 here, which is 3 gigahertz with 16 gig of RAM. I mean, the RAM isn't terribly important as long as it's got enough to run the system in general. So sort of 8 gig, plenty. And I've got the physics turned up to about halfway. So the thing is, it needs the quad core to run all the threads.
Interesting.
So,
all right. Well,
it's the best of both worlds. You can run it on a bog standard, everyday machine, or if you've got something that is a complete monster, then it will take full advantage of it as well.
Is this program only going to run on PC, or will it be available on the Mac native platform?
That's the question that keeps coming up, and the short answer is it will run on a Mac. However, it won't run natively.
Okay, you have to run on a window.
I think they're running it boot camp. We've got several beta testers running it on Macs, and I think they're all running it boot camp at the moment. But I know there is some. I'm not really up on the Mac stuff, but it Parallels, is it?
Yeah.
There's Parallels and boot camp that I know of.
There's something else as well, isn't there?
Well, there's Parallels. There's
VMware.
VMware Fusion.
Maybe it's VMware that he was trying.
Yeah, I mean, Boot Camp is the one where you literally reboot it and run Windows natively on the hardware. Parallels and VMware is you run it virtualized within the operating system, the OS X operating system. So
yeah, I think that I know there are definitely people running it boot camp, and I think they've been experimenting with Parallels or VMware or something like that, one of those. But I don't think it's currently working.
I mean, even when I fly, because I'm Mac pretty much. It surprises me how many people actually are Mac users in this hobby. But I'm Mac, and for Phoenix and Real Flight, obviously they're Windows only. I've tried to run them in Parallels or VMware Fusion. I have both of those, and I just ended up going to boot camp and then running a native Windows installation. And so now my MacBook Pro is just basically full-time Windows system because of that. So while it's not the best thing, it's just the way it is. So I get used to having to do with that for all of my machines. So.
Yeah, there was a lot of procrastinating about that, but unfortunately, Mac is, as far as I'm aware, quite an expensive platform to build for.
Yeah, it's expensive for the same you can do with a PC versus a Mac. The Mac's going to cost you 2 to 3 times as much because you have to do what Apple wants you to do to get the horsepower, and it ain't cheap. I priced the new Mac Pro, the trash can, and there's no way I'm going to spend that much money on a computer when I can build the same thing from a Windows machine for $500 to $700. I can source parts from Newegg or wherever I want to get them. It's expensive. So my next computer is going to be a Windows PC gaming / video editing machine.
That'll run it. That won't just run it. You'll be able to turn that up quite high, or very high, and it's all even on the minimum settings. It still leaves everything else for dust. But when you start turning the physics up, it's just absolutely just you lift the thing into the hover, and there's something about it that just it feels like a helicopter. Sort of when you lift it up and it doesn't quite go up straight, and it doesn't just sit there. It kind of they even the flyballers, the really good flyballers, they still move around, don't they, in the hover? You can't, if you just lift it straight off the ground, it goes places unless you fly it. There's a lot going on in accuracy that with the aerodynamics engines, and it's really difficult to put it into words. And I was talking to guys at Zone competition a few weeks back, and Ash was there with the laptop. Yeah, he had his laptop. So it wasn't kind of on show really. It was just, but it was there, and people were being allowed to fly it under supervision, and I was stood there trying to explain this sort of stuff to people, and it's just like, really, I can't actually be bothered anymore. Just go and stand in the queue and fly it, because it was easier. And if you do manage to get your hands on one to have a play with, go and play with it, because it really is a very remarkable piece of software.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how it progresses. I'd love to see more videos, so tell those guys to give us more. I know they're trying to hold some secrets, but.
Well, which would you rather? Would you rather them getting it out the door or see some more videos?
Yes.
I think most people would say, "Give up and take my money." We've been seeing that a lot. I'm admin on the Google Plus page and on the Facebook bit page, and it's been funny sort of reading some of the comments that have been coming through and some of the private messages and stuff. It's like, when's it being released? Can I have it now? Can I be a beta tester? my mate works at this shop, can we sell it? It's like, just shut up and take my money. Awesome.
Worse problems could be had, I guess.
Yeah, no, it's really, really cool, and also the people that have flown it, the feedback we've been getting off of them, like the Bosso brothers and the Bossians, and a lot of the guys that flew it at Zone, and Duncan Osborne, who's one of the top Align guys in the UK. I don't know, you've probably heard of him. He had a play on it, sort of away from everything else. He's a shy little guy, and he starts making E's and R's and starts playing with it, and it's just like you can see him starting to enjoy it. And whereas sort of when you talk to him about simulators before that, it was like, yeah, no, I kind of use it a bit, but I don't really find it useful, and blah 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 and everything else. And he starts playing with it, and the sort of the little details, like for a competition pilot, the MP3 player, you can configure it to play a track, and for the track to reset on crash. So when you in the ground, it will start the track again. So then it's for flights.
That's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, such a simple little detail. It's really cool. Yeah. So yeah, it's been an incredible experience actually talking to people about it, and sort of seeing all the feedback coming back through that from people that have used it. But equally, the absolute comedy coming back from the people that don't know anything about it and are just making, just trying to make something of it for whatever reason. It's quite entertaining.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right, Lee, you're falling asleep, dude. So, yeah. Do you want me? If you want, right now, while I have your attention, I will teach you everything I know about Piro flips. You ready?
Fantastic. Go ahead.
All right, we're done. That's all I know. What can you teach me about Piro
flips? I don't know. Just this time in the morning, I can't think straight.
You're literally. I saw you falling asleep there. It's
Yeah, it's been a long day. But no, I asked a question on Rotor Show, and Abe was trying to answer it for me, but unfortunately got the wrong end of the stick. And because I'm doing single rotation Piro flips, and I'm looking to get into doing double rotation, not reversals, as Adrian thought it was, but it's just going into doubles, and I just can't get my head around transferring the stick movements, because you do a single rotation for a single single rotation of the stick for a single rotation Piro flip, and I can't understand why you need the double rotation of the stick for double Piro flip, how that works.
Yeah, sorry about that misunderstanding.
That's right.
The stop thinking. Right, the first tip is stop thinking about how many Piros you're doing per flip.
Right.
Just if you watch most people, there aren't X amount of Piros per flip. Just concentrate on making the circles on the cyclic circular, and that you're in time with the Piro rotation. So the best thing to do is to sit there in the hover, pirouetting, and then wait for the nose to go away from you, so you'll tail in, and then push the stick forwards, and then start your rotation. And then when it gets to inverted, stop the flip and then control the inverted hover whilst pirouetting. Yeah?
Right.
That makes sense? And then when you decide that when you've got it back stable and steady whilst pirouetting inverted, wait for the nose to come towards you, and then push the elevator, and then start the circle. And concentrate on using not too much cyclic. If you think about how the rate of flip, you're not using anywhere near half stick even to do a nice sort of steady kind of forward flip. If you weren't pirouetting, you wouldn't need much cyclic to do that. So your size of your circles need to mirror that.
Right.
That makes sense?
Yeah. I found that I'm obviously doing it the wrong way, but I found I actually did less circles for doubles. So what I would do is I would start the piro flip off and do half a circle, and then I sort of pause, let the tail do a complete rotation, and then do the second half of the circle to finish it off. So it's confusing me as well.
Yeah, no, don't do that. Because that's just a asking for trouble on keeping the cyclic in sync with the model whilst you're pirouetting. Just start the another tip is rudder dual rate. Set up a rudder dual rate so it's not too fast on full stick.
Yeah, no, I've done that. That's what I've done. So I can go full stick and it's at the speed I want.
We talked about this on a help out, didn't we? Did I do a help out with you at some point? I think I did, didn't I?
Don't think so.
No, okay, somebody else did.
No. I've set up dual rates, so I've got three different rates, and so I can set it so that my rudder stick is full lock, and then I can just concentrate on everything else. Yeah,
concentrate on everything else. Yeah, and just use less cyclic, do smaller circles, and concentrate on getting the model completely flat when you're upside down and inverted. So you're doing a full flip whilst pirouetting, holding the pirouette inverted in a nice stable hover. Get it, and if you have drifted off, get it back into the position of where it should be, and then out and back again.
Yeah, that's what I do that now. I sort of do the half flip and just continue rotating. So and every time I'm pretty good now at getting it locked in at each orientation. So I'll do the half flip and then just rotate once or twice, and then half flip out and rotate once or twice, and I can either speed that up, so I just flip it straight back over again, or so I've got that bit. So yeah.
All you're missing then is using less cyclic.
Right.
And then that will naturally increase the number of piros per flip.
Okay. I can do it if I do it really quickly without thinking about it. It works. And I can do it on a simulator. I just whack the rudder over and I just do that with the other stick, and it seems to work. But I can't understand why.
Cut the size of the circles down and you'll be fine.
Right. Okay, I'll give it a shot. Thanks.
Glad I could help you.
Thanks. I'm gonna go to bed. I'm gonna go to bed now after that.
No, you need to get on the simulator whilst it's all fresh in your head.
Yeah, just go do this.
Right.
That's awesome. That's right. When I get a simulator, all I do is this, and then fly away. All right, we got about 5 more minutes left on this hangout. What else? Any other topics anybody needs to discuss? Any questions we need to answer? Problems I can solve?
I was just one thing about TikToks that I didn't manage to get in was a lot of people I find they give way too much collective in relation to cyclic pitch, and you end up bogging the motor. Because by giving the cyclic pitch, you get a lot of lift from it as it's changing from one direction to the other. So yeah, I tend to find a lot of people that are whacking up and down on the collective, and it just tends to bog it down, and that's why you can only do sort of 3 or 4 before you lose it. Both motors slows right down.
Okay, cool, good tip. So while we're talking back to these, I know that Nick Maxwell said something about it, and I'm not so quite sure it clicked to me. but you know how you have a tendency to either rise or fall. Is there a specific root cause of going up, or could it be a combination of several things that would cause it to rise in elevation?
Too much collective.
Yeah, collective. As you're giving more collective, it's gonna push it up into the air. You reduce the collective, it's gonna let it come back down again.
Okay, so that's almost exclusively then a collective management to get that to hang at the same elevation.
Yeah, but
Okay.
also if you try and do it too shallow, and so don't go to enough angle, then it won't stay up without getting the cyclic and collective timing absolutely spot on. And if you get it wrong, it'll just bog it and load it. So a good way of, if you do find yourself falling, is to flatten out the TikTok a little bit. So rather than doing it like that, and you're coming down, just open it up for a little bit more angle in both directions, and then that will naturally give you more lift, because your force vector at the bottom of the model is instead of being over here, over there, and not having much downwards component, it's by leveling the model off, you've got more downward component, haven't you? So then it gives you more lift.
Okay. I was also trying to experiment the differences if I gave more positive than negative. Let's say I wasn't centered in my collective response. Did it consistently move one direction or the other? And I can't remember now what that felt like, but I was trying that. I was thinking maybe the reason I was rising or falling is because I was being a little bit heavy-handed on one side or the other.
Possibly, or you're under rotating on one side and over rotating on the other, or there's a bit of a crosswind. So if you're going across yourself and there's a wind from the left, and so you're doing it top to the right, then you're going to need to give more negative pitch to push it into the wind.
Interesting.
Don't see that as an error. See that as a traveling TikTok. There you go. You've done it.
Yeah. New maneuver. Yeah, it's amazing how much thought goes into all of this, and how much concentration it takes. But then I think back to how much concentration and thought it took to hover when I first learned to fly, and now I do that without thinking. Right? Hovering is not. It's not something that I think about. I just do so I can go do something else. And I imagine with practice, things like TikToks just become, you just do them because you know how to do them and you don't think about them anymore. So it's kind of exciting to see how your brain, develops these pathways that eventually become, permanent.
Yeah, there's definitely I can do it now, and then you're starting to think about the positioning. So you learn to do it, and it's a bit all over the place, and then you can generally sort of do it and keep it vaguely in one place. So then you start thinking about how am I going to keep this thing where I want it to be, or how I'm going to move it to where I want it to be.
Yeah, interesting. All right, gang. Well, it is 11 o'clock my time, and sometime, 5 o'clock?
5 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Been outdone again.
You guys are nuts, man.
It's only 4 here.
Only 4 in the UK. 5 o'clock in Spain. Mexico City is
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock? All right.
Yep.
Well, I love the fact that we can have an international hangout. That's pretty awesome all by itself. So
I have one last thing to say, please.
Go ahead.
We got Bert Kammerer on next Wednesday with a bite size talking about servos. It should be quite interesting. Doing lots about the choices that you make when you're buying servos, and why you're spending so much money on them.
Oh, that's going to be awesome.
So, yeah, that'll be quite interesting and well worth watching.
Yeah, that's one of those areas that that I make financial decisions on and take a lot of compromise, and it'll be nice to know what I'm losing by doing that as well, what I'm missing out on.
One clue is don't compromise. It's your main. It's probably the main thing really that you don't want to compromise on, especially these days with flybarless. It's the mechanics don't make an awful lot of difference. The blades make a bit of difference. The flybarless makes a bit of difference. But if you throw 10 quid servos on it, it'll be crap.
Yeah, so I'd agree with you.
Cool.
I can tell you the BK servos are fantastic.
It's interesting what different people's perspective is on what compromise. I mean, there are some people that say, oh, don't buy those high techs. Oh no, that's garbage. You gotta get a really good servo. Like, well, I thought that was a good servo. I thought the $7 Hobby King ones were bad servos. So
it's all about perspective, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Tell us about the high tech whenever you install them. How you feel them?
That's true. Hey, I got high techs on the way for my 500. They'll be here probably first of next week. So, actually, yeah. I'm an idiot. I would have had them already, but I ordered the wrong ones. I was doing my shopping and I looked at the high techs, 5425s, whatever they are for the 500, and then I saw some others like 56 somethings. I'm like, huh. Well, those are different. What oh, they're faster. Well, I'll spend the extra money for these, and I ended up with 600 class servos that won't fit in my 500. And I'm like, oh, what an idiot! I forgot to even look that it was a different size altogether. I just thought I was getting a faster servo, so I immediately shipped them back, and they're refunded me, and I'm getting the right ones this week. So. But yeah, that was an idiot mistake that I made. I was trying to get greedy, and I thought, oh, these are even better. Yeah, they're also bigger. So I got them. I'm like, oh crap! I didn't even have to take them out of the box. I could tell as soon as I looked at the box. So anyway, so yeah, I'll have some high techs here pretty soon, and then I can. To be honest with you, other than the Futaba servo that I have on the tail of my 550. The high techs will probably be the most money I've spent on actual servos. I usually, go Turnigy or, something else. So, be interesting to see the difference.
Is that one of those things that size matters?
It matters if it doesn't fit.
Yeah.
So, all right, gang. Well, I appreciate it. Thanks for hanging out with me for the 25th time. Since this whole thing started. I still can't believe that this is still going. So I appreciate all that. All you guys out there that watch this after the fact, appreciate that as well. Love the comments and the questions. If you want, hat, T-shirt, anything like that, let me know. If it looks like there's a real interest, I didn't really think that far in advance about making them available, but if you guys are interested, it shouldn't be too hard for me to do. So just let me know. And then we'll sort out the details later. So until next time, I'll catch you all on the next one.
All right. Take care.
Cheers.
Good night.